actually the title of this book came out of this idea of me being a runner. And years ago, people would always be like, what are you training for? What are you training for? And there was always a race. And one day I said, I'm training for life. And they said, what do you mean? I said, I want to be in the best physical, mental shape as I can for when life happens. Can I prevent those things from happening to me? No. But I think if I can show up knowing that I gave it the best I could, then at least I can be like, all right, it was out of my control. Like
Mhm.
that's what happened.
I told you that stress isn't actually your problem. Most of us spend our lives trying to outrun stress. We try to meditate it away or we wait for a calmer season that rarely happens. But today's guest says we're fighting the wrong battle. And according to her, stress is not the issue, it's our reaction to it. Joining us today is a woman who has shared the stage with icons like Oprah and Mel Robbins. We have Dr. Rachel Goldman here, and she is a clinical psychologist, an NYU professor, and the expert that the New York Times calls when they need the real science of the mind. Dr. Rachel's brand new book is called When Life Happens, and it's hitting the shelves this April. And it is a masterclass in building a coping toolbox so we can stop reacting and start responding. And today, Dr. Rachel is giving us so many tools to do this that are straight out of her book. We are going to talk about how to silence your inner critic, how to take small, simple steps that really help us to be prepared for when life happens, and how to change our relationship with stress forever. So, if you have ever felt like one more thing is going to happen and it's going to break you, this episode is your survival guide. And let's get into it with Dr. Rachel Goldman. Dr. Rachel is in the house. Welcome.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here with you today. As we were just saying, I feel like I've known you for so long. So it's just amazing to be in this space with you and to be able to have this conversation together.
I know, right? It's like we finally get to talk to each other for real, not just Instagram DMs and
Exactly. And this like just supporting each other, which of course we're going to continue to do, but like a comment, and now we can actually like come together and have a conversation. So it's
I
great.
know. I know. So let's settle in and you guys are in for a treat because I can't wait to share with you all of the wisdom that Dr. Rachel's going to bring. But first, let's talk about your book because your book is coming out April 7th. Tell us what it's all about. What is it called and why is it
Yes.
amazing?
Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you so much. So it is called When Life Happens, the mindset shift you need to manage stress, build confidence, and break free. And I am a clinical psychologist here in New York City and really specialize in what's called cognitive behavior therapy, which is the basic idea of our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors being all linked. And this book really came out of my years of clinical experience, both working in a hospital setting and in private practice when I started realizing time after time that clients were experiencing, we experience such similar things. And there were these little nuggets or little gems or whatever you want to call them, little tidbits that I would share that I realized were really, they seemed so little, but they were really helping so many people kind of break free from that feeling of feeling stuck or feeling emotional or overwhelmed. So, really, the book is bringing it all together to equip individuals with the tools that they need to get through life as life happens.
Mm,
And life is happening, if
it's
we like it or
happening.
not, right? Life is happening. So, I always say that we can plan, and I do think it's important to look ahead, anticipate challenges, and have a plan. But plans don't always go as planned. And having the mindset to be able to be flexible with that, and then to be like, okay, this didn't work and now what can be
Mhm.
so powerful. And I think it's unfortunately a mindset that a lot of people these days don't have. And it just is like a weight lifted when you're able to see things not through such an all or nothing lens any longer.
Right, right. No, I love that. And so cognitive behavioral therapy, as you said, or we would call it CBT, is so much in what I'm all about as well, like mind, emotion, actions aligned. So, I think we are so on the same page with all of this. And I love the title, like When Life Happens, because we can all relate. Like life is
It's gonna happen.
happening. It's out of control, feels like a runaway train a lot of the times. What's going to happen? And that fear of the unknown, right? Of like, what's life going to throw at me? I don't know. And so that fear, I think, is just can be so limiting or debilitating. So, like for you, when you think
Exactly.
of like the life happens moments, what is that for you? Like, what are some of the life happens moments that you've experienced that have shown you that like this is an opportunity and not necessarily something terrible?
Well, to be perfectly honest and transparent, life is happening right now for me in a really big way with this book, and I kind of joked with people about this, but I think it's not a joke anymore. That the book has kind of taken on a life of its own, is what I say, and it's happening.
Hmm.
And like you can't really anticipate what's happening, right? You can't really plan for everything. And it's like, all right, we're doing this, right? But the examples that I tend to give when I talk about this is actually, you know, pregnancy, being a mom, being a woman. When I had or actually when I was pregnant with my first, I have two little ones. When I was pregnant with my first, I remember having to really shift the way that I was thinking about my life, my day-to-day activities, my work, my routine. And I use this example a lot, but it really was life-changing for me. I'm a, I'm a go-getter. I'm a type A, all of
Yeah.
those things. And I remember having my son at home very young and having my to-do list and then being like, shoot, I didn't get anything done on my to-do list today. And every day kind of having the same experience. And one day being like, okay, the reality is it's not going to get done. So
Hmm.
why is it on the list? Right. I
Mm.
was like, I'm going to take this off the list because every day I'm making myself feel worse by being like, when am I going to get it to it? When am I going to get to it? And then I don't get to it. So it's actually something that I really use with my clients a lot is to really look at our to-do list and be like, is this really realistic? And then take something off of it.
Yeah.
So when I had my little one, I actually felt so accomplished when I just showered. Like
Right.
as silly as that sounds, like you're in survival mode when life is really happening like that for you. And showering is enough, right? Or literally people be like, how are you today? How are you managing? I'm like, I showered, I kept my son alive, and I'm alive. That's a
Winning at
success.
life. That's right.
Exactly. That is winning. And when we're really going through those stressful times, I think people forget that. And sometimes we need to just be in survival mode, and that's okay. And I think that was really honestly life-changing for me. As much as I've been practicing and or preaching this, so to say, and recommending it to clients for so many years, it actually was happening to me. And I was like, why am I setting myself up for failure by feeling like I got nothing done today? And now it's funny. My husband jokes, he'll be like, is it on the list? Like if I accomplish something, he's like, put it on the list so you can cross it off. Because yes, sometimes we have to put the most basic things on the list to
Mhm.
remind ourselves that this is enough. We don't need to be doing all of these other things that we
Yeah.
sometimes feel like we have to do. And that's the pressure, of course.
Yeah. No, I love it. It makes me think of I haven't read it, but Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Lights.
Yes,
Well, I think in
yes.
there he talks about putting on his favorite t-shirt at the beginning of the day. And he's like, I've already done something great by putting on my favorite t-shirt. Kind of like what you're saying.
It's so true. And we forget those things, right? Or we take the little things for granted when really those little things matter so much. And again, I could have gone through my day being like I did nothing today. Or, and again, back to CBT, thoughts, emotions, behaviors, or I could be like, "Oh, I showered. I fed my child. I fed myself. I'm alive. Huge success." Like that is winning.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and what I love too is you just gave us two examples of life happening in seemingly very positive ways, right? The book launch, like we've been talking about, like that's an incredible thing, but it comes with a lot of stress and pressure. having a baby, being pregnant, exciting, but also comes with a lot of stress and pressure. And so women who are intentionally, let's say, stepping into high pressure situations, getting pregnant, big career move, whatever it might be, taking risks. If we look at the resiliency that we need before the pressure happens, how do
Yeah.
we do that, right? Because I think it's often like we wait until the pressure's here. We wait until life's happening now. And then we're like, oh my God, what do I do? But is there a way for us to kind of anticipate? Okay, I'm entering into a situation. I know there's going to be pressure. I don't know what it's going to be. Now what?
Yeah. So that's my book, actually.
Okay, great.
Yes, great, done. No kidding. But that's the idea of the book because, my goal for people or my hope for people is that when life does happen, they don't feel stuck. They don't feel so overwhelmed that they feel paralyzed or stuck and not know what to do. And the key with that is to set ourselves up in advance to be prepared. We can't always be as, super prepared, but to be as prepared as we can,
Hmm.
in order to then be able to, maybe for a moment we feel reactive, maybe for a moment we feel overwhelmed. And then it's like, all right, I'm going to reground myself. I'm going to take a deep breath. I know what to do. I'm going to do my best, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. So it really goes back to this idea of doing those things now. And I like to call it, or what I recommend is building your coping toolbox. Build
Mm.
your toolbox now. So when life happens, you are a pro at them and you can pull from them. And the analogy I use in the book is these tools are like tools in your shed, right? You don't want them to just get rusty. And then when you need them, you're like, how do I use these? I have to
Right.
clean them. I have to practice. I don't know. No, you want to use them on a regular basis. So when you need them, they're fresh, they're sharp, they're ready to go. So, and the best time to do it is actually when you don't need them for that
Hmm.
reason, because we can think a little clearer to be like, okay, when this happens, maybe this will work for me. I'm not really sure, but let me try it. And these coping tools, one of the best things about them is that they're multi-purposeful. I think the tools that we use when we're dealing with stress and life can be the exact same tools that we do on a daily basis as self-care practices, but they're just used for different reasons. So, like a breathing exercise, I will create a moment in between appointments, in between meetings to breathe. That's amazing. It's going to lower that stress level in the moment for me, even if I'm not feeling stressed. But now in the moment, I'm feeling overwhelmed. My kids are screaming, whatever. I could do the same thing. I could just take a breath and ground myself. Maybe I need something else on top of it, but I'm not first trying to figure out, oh my God, what do I do? I've never been in this situation.
Yeah.
Maybe we haven't been in the exact same situation, but we know what to do. It's when we
Yeah.
feel out of control. And by doing these things, we can take back that control.
Brilliant, because exactly what you're saying is I think we're so wired, right, to be like, well, I'm everything's fine now. So like let me just cruise through life. And then like something stressful happens, and then we're like, oh my God,
Boom.
what do I do? But what you're
Right.
saying, right, is like practice a breath work when you're not super stressed or when you're just like creating something nice during the day to practice so that yeah, when you need it, it's there. I just started doing breath work every morning. Like literally,
I love
I
that.
wake up and I lay in bed and I just do 10 minutes.
It's
And I'm telling
amazing.
you, it's amazing.
I bet it changes the course of your day,
I didn't think it would, but I'm telling you,
but it
I feel
does.
happier. I feel more focused. Like I'm like, okay, I'm super fan now of breath work
Yeah,
because I'm seeing it. But yeah, like so I'm doing it in the morning when like life hasn't hit me yet that day. And it's helping me throughout the day. And then also it's like, oh yeah, breathing, that worked. Let me try that again. So I think that
exactly.
makes so much sense. And what I love about it is it's simple, but it works.
Yeah. And that's the key. If it is not simple, if it feels overwhelming, if it feels impossible, if it takes too much effort, if it takes too much work, we're not going to do it.
Hmm.
And that, again, is one of those messages that I realized time after time that I wanted to get to my clients or the patients at the hospital was you don't need to overhaul your whole life. You don't need to do some big, huge thing in order to start feeling better. Like
Hmm.
maybe it's 2 minutes of breath work in the morning. Maybe it's literally just taking a breath, right? To like remind ourselves to come back to the present and ground ourselves. And people don't realize it until they start doing it how really it can change everything. Because that moment, you just gave to yourself, allowed you to breathe, allowed you to be present, allowed you to be mindful, and then impacts the next thing you're going to do. And that
Yeah.
impacts the next thing. And it just becomes this positive domino effect until life happens again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean exactly, and I think that's why I feel like our we're so connected is because like you have to be selfish in order to do this because you have to say like
Yes.
I matter and I'm going to actually prioritize me and my breath, let's say, and give myself 2 minutes to do that. And you have to be willing to prioritize that. And then when you do that, you also have more to give others. So you can
Yeah.
we can see how all of this, if you can bring it back to those simple practices and those tools, as you said, really can then come into clutch when life happens.
Yeah, and it's so related to you and your work and your book. I think the word selfish has gotten a negative connotation, and I love that you have kind of shifted that in a way. And I used to always say, you need to be selfish when
Mhm.
it comes to you and your health.
Yeah,
Because if we are not selfish and we keep putting ourselves on the back burner and keep forgetting about ourselves, we're only hurting ourselves. And we
yeah,
can't be the best mother, therapist, friend, daughter, etc. We need to take moments. I think there's a difference between really being selfish and being more mindful of being selfish around our health and taking
for
care of
sure.
ourselves.
For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, it's a confronting word, but I think we need to be confronted by the conditioning that has brought us to a place where, for me, for most of my life, I thought I was being selfless in the good way, but really was just abandoning myself. And so I
Yeah.
think going back to the tools in the toolbox and the simple things, I like to call it micro changes.
Yeah.
But that for me in my life has probably been the most profound thing is like, what's that smallest thing I can do right now to help me to be able to handle this better. And I want to talk about stress, okay? Because like we're all stressed out, or we're all talking about how stressed we are. All right, is stress really the problem, or like what's the deal?
So I love this question so much because stress is not the problem. I actually have a whole chapter on this. And the beginning of the chapter, I'm busting myths about stress.
Hmm.
And one of them is that stress is not the problem, but what the problem is how we react or how we respond to the stress itself. So everything that happens in life is actually neutral. So if we think
Oh
about
my
it,
God, I say that all the time.
oh,
I love
really? Oh my
it.
gosh. Okay, great. So you're going to love the example I'm going to give
Okay,
then.
give it to me.
So everything in life that happens is neutral until we interpret it or we just, how we perceive it. So let's say you and I are both in traffic right now. We are both in the exact same traffic, but one of us, I'm not saying who, because I have a feeling both of us would actually react the same way, but one of us is like, oh my gosh, so much traffic. I'm going to be late. What am I going to do? And if we remember that thoughts, emotions, and behaviors are all linked, that immediate thought just impacted how we feel, which then impacted our next behavior. Now, if another person, again, neutral, traffic, that's all it is, it's just traffic until our thought comes into play. The next person is like, you know what? I'm going to turn on Valerie's podcast. I'm going to take this time to call a friend. I'm going to take this time to breathe. That thought immediately changes what's going to happen next. So everything is neutral until we react or respond or until we interpret the stressor itself. So, no, it's not stress because we actually also interpret and perceive stress very differently. I think the pandemic is the best example of this, actually. We all experienced the pandemic. That is something that we all experienced. Our experiences were different. We reacted and responded and managed and navigated it differently. So we don't all experience stress the same way, but it's then how we interpret it and what we do with it. So it's interesting. There was actually, this is quoted in my book, but there was actually research done at Penn State years ago that said that it wasn't stress itself that was the problem, exact question that you asked,
Yeah.
but it was how we responded to that stressor that predicted individuals' health a decade later,
Hmm.
regardless of the current health state they were in. How they responded to that stress predicted their health a decade later.
Whoa,
I know, I know.
that's
Like
wild.
it's eye-opening. Like, oh my gosh, like let's learn to properly respond to stress because it can absolutely impact our health. It can exacerbate so many other health conditions.
That's wild. Think about 2030. How
Yeah,
are we going to feel from the pandemic 10 years ago? And
yeah,
then today, 2026. Okay, how do I want to feel in 10 years? Like it just puts it into such a
yeah,
bigger perspective.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it then reminds us that those little things like your breath work is actually really not so little,
Not so little
right?
after all. I mean,
Right.
but what I love about that reframe of stress, I think, is it takes you from victim to empowered, right? Because if
Yes.
it's like it's the traffic and I have no control over this and I'm mad, you are giving your power away to, as you said, a neutral event,
Right.
as opposed to going, I can make a choice here. And
Right.
what do I want to choose and how am I going to make that different choice? All of a sudden, you're the one having that different experience in traffic and you don't have to be at the whim of everything that's going on in your life.
Exactly. Like you're really in the driver's seat, right?
Yeah.
You're taking back that control. And that's one of the things I love to remind people, like, let's focus on what's in your control. Okay, you're stuck in traffic. It is what it is. It's a fact. That is not a thought. That is a fact. But then the thought of, oh my God, all these things that start snowballing, those are thoughts. Those are not facts. Yes, will you be late to work? Probably. What can you do about it? You can call your boss and explain to them, look, there's traffic. It's out of my control. I'm doing the best I can. That's it,
Yeah.
right? Like we could just put it to rest, like forget about it. And now what am I going to do about it? It is literally taking back that control because it can totally ruin your day.
Hmm.
One thought can ruin your day, or one breath can completely change the course of the day.
Right. And that shift of the thoughts, emotions, actions from the traffic equals bad versus thoughts, emotion, actions of acceptance, neutrality, and then an empowered choice. We have those two options. So how do we stay present enough when we are in the traffic to remind ourselves that, oh, hang on a second, I could choose something different here? Because I think that's also what derails so many of us. It's like, okay, we're calm, we're listening to this podcast. This all sounds great, Dr. Rachel. But then all of a sudden I'm in traffic and
Life
I've
happens.
forgotten it all and I'm stressed
Right.
and I don't remember till I'm having dinner that night that like, oh
Right.
shoot, I missed that opportunity.
Yeah. Well, and I like to remind people that I acknowledge that this is not easy, right? Like, yes, we're talking about some simple shifts, but they take work, they take practice. They take the first step is listening and acknowledging, like, oh, I could benefit from maybe making this little shift, right? But in the moment, it's very difficult. And I tend to say when we're emotional, we're stressed, or we're tired, it's even more so difficult, especially to be able to identify that that is an unhelpful thought and that's not helping me right now. But I think the easier way to look at it is to not to try to make the goal about eliminating it, right? So like it's okay to overreact or to react or to get upset or to be emotional. That's okay. We don't want to take that away. We're humans. But how long are you going to sit there? Right?
Hmm.
It's just like anxiety. I tell my clients the goal is not to eliminate your anxiety. Anxiety is serving you a purpose, but is it going to get in the way of you managing and dealing with your life and what you need to do? Or can we identify this is anxiety or this is an unhelpful thought? And now what do I do?
Yeah.
Right? So just sitting in it for a moment is okay. That might then make you not acknowledge and accept, oh, you know what? Wow, I'm going to be late to work. It is what it is. It's out of my control. And now what can I do about it?
Yes.
So it's the thought that follows kind of that other thought or the thought that follows the behavior that really matters. You're stuck in traffic. What thought is happening? Is it a helpful thought or not? It's not. Why? Because it doesn't make me feel good. It's not getting me anywhere good. So now how can I tweak that thought to make it feel a little better, make it feel more realistic and take back that control at the same time?
Well, and what you just gave us was a great script, right? Because it's all about how we talk to ourselves too. So what you
Exactly.
just, demonstrated was a great little script we can use when we do notice that we're getting off track And you said, and now what, which I love because it's like, okay, like I still have a different choice. I call it how fast can you recover? Like,
Exactly.
yeah, like, do I want to stay? Okay, I got stressed in traffic. Do I want that to be a day of stress? Or do I want that to be 10 minutes or maybe like 30
A
seconds?
moment.
Right?
Right.
But it's not
Exactly.
about not ever feeling it. It's about that recovery. And I think that leads into this idea of toxic positivity that everybody throws around, which I agree, like we don't want that. But what's the difference, right? Are we being toxic positivity all over ourselves, or is it healthy optimism? And how do we tell the difference? We don't want to be gaslighting ourselves either.
Right. Yeah. And you're right. It tied right into that. Because once we acknowledge that this is an unhelpful thought, and if we choose to tweak it, so there's a few things we could do with those thoughts. We could just sit with it. Thoughts will pass. I like to think of it as a cloud. Like it will slowly pass by, but it will pass by. Or we can identify it's not helpful and tweak it. But if we tweak it, we don't want to make it super positive. We don't want to make it the extreme opposite, right? So an example would be like, I'm not going to get the job. You don't know if you're going to get the job. But this like opposite thought would be, I know I'm going to get the job. Well, we don't know you're going to get the job. That would be toxic positivity. You're like
Right.
setting yourself up for failure. Instead, we can find something more middle grounded. I like to think of as a neutral, kind of balanced, grounded thought, more in reality. Like, all right, I'm trying my best. I don't know, but I'm trying my best. So we don't want to be super toxic positive. We don't want to be toxic positivity at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
It also invalidates emotions. It's not reality. We're ignoring the fact that there might be other options, and it's really ignoring the middle ground. I like to think of everything on a continuum. Most things are not the extremes. Most things will
Hmm.
fall somewhere in the in between. So when you're thinking about tweaking that thought, don't think the complete opposite. Think what is going to make sense for me and make me feel a little better, right? Because the toxic positive statement is going to make you feel like a failure when it doesn't happen. And we don't know. Like I tend to joke that like I might be an expert in this area, but I can't predict if that's going to happen or not. So let's
Yeah.
not assume that it might because that's setting you up for failure too, or potentially.
Yeah.
And you don't want to lie to yourself. So
Yeah.
again, it could be like, I'm trying my best. I don't know if I'm going to get the job, but I'm trying my best.
I love that, and I love this idea of the continuum because you're right. It's like the extremes are where our brain goes to of like, oh my God, this is going to be the best thing ever or the worst thing ever. And let's keep it in that continuum of reality of for the most part.
Yes, exactly. Right. And if we think about it, all of the should have, would have, could have thoughts is the past out of our control. All of the what if thoughts in the future out of our control. But those are the two places our brains want to jump to. They
Yes,
want to jump to where we've been because that's what we know, the past out of control. And they want to jump to all of the possible things that might happen because our brain is wired for survival and it wants us to be prepared for assuming that that worst thing is going to happen. But most
totally.
likely, that worst thing is not going to happen.
Totally. No, I love that. I love those like shoulda, coulda, woulda. And what was it? What now?
The what if thoughts.
What if?
What
What
if?
if?
What if
Yeah.
this happens? What if that happens? What if that
Right.
happens? Who
Right.
knows? And what if it doesn't happen?
Like regret or anxiety. That's
Right.
how we're going to feel. But going back to traffic, because I think it's just such a great real life example everyone can relate to. It's like, okay, neutrality is kind of being more present, right? And neutrality, like you said, right, is more about like, okay, this is not amazing. I'm not sitting there going, oh my gosh, I love sitting in traffic. This is the best thing ever, right? We're not doing that, but we're being real, but we're also going, okay, but what if I just see it as neutral? What's here? What's available for me here in this place? And can I make it a little more bearable for myself?
Exactly. I sometimes like to think to myself, like, what's the other option? Like you're sitting in traffic. I'm not going to get out and start running. Like, I mean,
Right.
I take that back. I live in New York City.
You might.
Yes, I was up about to be late to a TV segment because of the snow and the traffic. And I did hop out of the car and run. I did. But if I'm driving and I'm in traffic,
I mean,
that's
is
not
that's
possible.
like a scene out
Right.
of a movie, right? Like Sarah Jessica Parker running up, Carrie
Yes.
Bradshaw running to the
It
stock
was
exchange.
it was the funniest thing. I'm literally like texting with the producers and my husband being like, I'm not gonna make it. And I'm like, all right, all right, the next light, pull over. I'm going to jump out. I'm going to run. And I'm like running in. But my point is that in that situation, I did have an alternative and I could be in control because if I didn't run there, I would have gotten there late and I would have been like, well, what if, or I should have, could have, would have run. And I thought to myself, okay, how could this play out? I'm going to try my best and I am physically capable of running. I am a runner also. But I was like, okay, this is an option for me. I'm going to try my best, right? But if you're in traffic and you're driving, or if that's not an option for you, you need to think, okay, what's the alternative? Call your boss, you're going to be late. Call the TV producers, I'm going to be late. It's out of my control. There's only so much that we can humanly do. But I like the thought of like, okay, is there something else I could do? Because it
Right.
goes back to that idea of what's in my control.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
snow happens, the traffic happened. I can't just change the light. Like you just
Yeah.
can't.
But let's say somebody is really concerned about something major that might happen that could, right? We all probably have those thoughts and fears, but I think a lot of people right now who are listening to this are potentially living in a lot of fear of big, scary things.
Yes.
So, do the same tools apply, or do we need a different approach when we're, for example, worrying about what if I get a big, scary diagnosis next time I go to my mammogram? Or, what if my child gets hurt? So, does it all apply?
Absolutely. And the key though is to remember that sometimes we do need different tools and sometimes we need a combination of tools. So it may not be the exact same tool. Like a breathing exercise might work for you every morning, maybe some stress, maybe traffic, you do that. Sometimes like I might need to breathe and call my mom or my husband and go on a run, right? It
Okay.
just depends on the situation. But I think again, going back to mindset though, like what you were saying, the what ifs, right? Like I have a few friends, colleagues, family members going through some of that now with like some health related things. And is it helpful to think worst case scenario? Not really, but our brain jumps to that, right?
Mm,
So if our brain's gonna jump there, I'm like, all right, let's think about it for a moment. What if it is? You're going to figure it out, right? Like, and I think reminding yourself of that too. And with that, though, comes a little bit of you need a little bit of that confidence to know that you're going to figure it out. Is it scary? Absolutely. Are there horrible things that are happening in this world? Absolutely. And some of it is out of our control. And that's again, actually, the title of this book came out of this idea of me being a runner. And years ago, people would always be like, what are you training for? What are you training for? And there was always a race. And one day I said, I'm training for life.
mm,
And they said, what do you mean? I said, I want to be in the best physical, mental shape as I can for when life happens. Because
mm,
I don't know. Can I prevent those things from happening to me? No. But I think if I can show up knowing that I gave it the best I could, and that's not perfect. I am human, the best, doing good enough, then at least I can be like, all right, it was out of my control. Like
mhm.
that's what happened, right? And does that suck? Absolutely. Like I'm not saying to, discard or invalidate those feelings. That sucks, but at least I know, and it's actually every year, although I'm a runner, I do make sure that I run every year on my birthday because
Mm.
it's my gift to myself knowing that exactly that, okay, I'm doing the best that I can and showing up for myself, being selfish,
Yep.
right? Being
Yep.
selfish. But it goes back to a little bit of that acceptance and a little bit of that I'm doing the best I can. And we just don't know,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But yes, those horrible things are happening.
Yeah.
And we can worry about it and let it keep us up all night,
Yeah.
every night, which then impacts again thoughts, emotions, behaviors. Lack of sleep impacts a lot of things. Or we can say, you know what, I just don't know yet. I'm doing the best I can. I'm going to try to distract myself. Maybe this is the time to connect with people, socialize, support, lean on those people. And then when you get the test results back, you take a breath and you're like, all right, I'm going to now tackle that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, I love that because as you were talking about running, I was thinking like this is such a great analogy because, and I like that you said you're training for life. Every day making that choice, or when you go for a run, to make that choice to build those muscles, to give that to yourself. And I feel as though your book is that for us. Is like, okay, reading the book is like us going for a run. It's like, okay, I'm giving myself the tools, I'm giving myself the training so that when life happens, I do have that fitness in my mind, emotion, and actions to be prepared, to be ready. And I think it's just what we all need because it's easy to just let life go by. And I'll deal with that when it happens. I'll cross that bridge when it comes, which is okay. But why don't we actually like train for that? Why don't we
Right.
prepare ourselves so that we do feel, as you said, confident? And
Right.
I love that because I always say like I want to feel like bring it on. Like whatever happens, I'm ready. And that requires us to take that seriously and do the training. And I don't know, I feel like your work is us going for a run.
Oh, I love that. Yes, and thank you so much. And and there is, there's nothing wrong with being like, I'll cross that bridge when it happens. But again, I think for most of the things, we want to be able to know that we got this as much as we can.
Hmm.
Again, like I don't want to minimize the other things going on and the things that are out of our control, but we got this as much as we can. And sometimes, again, we do need to just be like, I can't deal with that right now, like survival mode, right?
Yeah.
Like literally am gonna like, to be honest, I'm in that right now. Like somebody's asking me literally about an event tonight, and I'm like, nope, I'll talk to you about that in a few minutes. Like I
Love
can't
it.
do it right now. And like we'll get to that later. And that's okay also. And that's important because as we go through life, we're going to be going through different phases. And there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, there's going to be full seasons, there's going to be slower seasons. And maybe you're in the season that you just need to be like, I can't think about that right now. I'm going to put it aside. But I always say it's what we do on most days. On
Hmm.
most days, I'm being intentional with certain things, my health behaviors, my thoughts, etc. And that's me training for life
Yeah.
on most days. Is it every day? No, and
Yeah.
that's okay. But on most days, I can confidently say, I'm prepared for whatever is going to come my way. And if I'm not, I'm going to lean on the people, pull my tools, and do the best that I can.
Yeah. Well, I love what you just said because it's taking the concept of like, okay, like I'll deal with that when it comes. Like you said, the event tonight, it's like, okay, like I am going to take care of that. It's going to be fine. And also, you have the tools to apply so that you aren't stressing about that future event. You know, it'll be fine. And so,
Yeah,
like, I think that's just another great real life example of in the moment what's going on. And are we like worrying about the bridge before we're on it? Or are we going, I know I have the tools to get to that bridge and cross it and it'll be fine, right? Like it feels
right,
like that's
right.
such a better feeling way to think about it.
Totally. And it's like, yes, I see the bridge there.
Yeah.
And when I get there, I'm going to deal with it. But
Right.
like today, I don't really need to deal with that yet.
Yeah.
And that's also okay, right? And again, that's too much forward thinking. A
Right.
little bit is good. We want to be prepared. We want to be planning a little bit to be prepared, but we aren't living in the future. We're living right here, right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Oh my God. So good. All right. So look, your book is coming out very, very soon.
Yes.
So we are in pre-orders for when this comes out, a few more days. So
Yes.
where do we go to get your amazing book?
Thank you so much. So, yes, When Life Happens, you can find it at whenlifehappensbook.com. You can also find it at anywhere that you like to buy your books from. It is available anywhere and everywhere. And yes, I'm super excited. It is on pre-order now, coming out in just a few days. And you can also find me at Dr. Rachel NYC. I always like to remind people podcasts, Instagram, media platforms, all of those are not therapy, but I love to connect with people and I am happy to connect you and provide resources if applicable or if you need something as well. But I love connecting with different people.
Thanks for that reminder. I think we're all feeling like TikTok is our therapist. And it's like, no, no, reel it back in. Let's get real.
Exactly. Yes, especially when most of those recommendations are not even coming from therapists.
Exactly. Yeah. We
Yes.
we need the experts, and you are an expert that we need. I need.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for you. And honestly, just grateful for this book that you're bringing into the world because I know it's going to help so many people. We need it.
Thank you so much. I really
Yeah.
appreciate that. And I appreciate you.
Thank you. All right, everybody, go to the link in the show notes to get Dr. Rachel's new book. And thank you so much for hanging out with us. And we'll see you guys next time. I told you she was the real deal. What a great episode with Dr. Rachel Goldman. The biggest takeaway for me was that massive reframe that stress isn't the problem, our reaction to it is. And it's such a relief to know that we don't have to wait for life to get easy to finally feel okay. If you felt that shift today, you're going to want the full manual. Dr. Rachel's new book, When Life Happens, is officially out this April, and pre-orders are the best way to support authors. So head over to the link in our show notes right now to grab your copy and start building your own coping toolbox. You can also follow Dr. Rachel on Instagram at The Real Dr. Rachel for her daily Dr. Rachel check-ins, which I am a huge fan of. I love those. And as always, if this episode helped you, please share it with one friend who's currently in the thick of a life happening moment. And subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen, Spotify or Apple, and leave a review. It really helps to get this out to more people. Thank you so much for being here with us, and we will see you in the next episode.